Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. We are continuing doing my top 100 games of all time, counting down. We've done 100 through 71 so far, so today we are making my way through 70 through 61. And I am doing something right now that I usually try never to do, and that is I'm shooting this at 2 in the morning. I just got off work. I usually try not to shoot after I get off work, after my 12-hour shifts late at night, because it usually just doesn't work too good. I'm pretty tired and everything. But the last day and a half has been crazy windy up here in North Dakota. It's been 55 miles per hour, 55-mile-per-hour winds up here. So it's been really loud. It's been too loud, too windy to record anything. And I got off work and it wasn't very windy, so I was like, I got to do it now, basically. So yeah, it's North Dakota. There's three things about North Dakota. It's really flat, it's really windy, and it's really cold. I like that it's cold. I could live without the wind though. Uh, but that's neither here nor there. So let us get into the list today. Going to number 70 right away. That is Heaven and Ale. And this is a game that has dropped down a little bit for me because I actually didn't even get to play it this last year. But this is a very sort of dry Euro game. It uses the rondel movement system where you can move along this track as far along as you want to, but you cannot go backwards. So once you go so far, you can't. That's the final decision kind of thing. But you're going to move around this track and pick up these tiles and place them on your board. And you're going to have two sides of your board. One side is going to get you money. One side is going to move up your resources on this track. And that's how you're going to score points. But your money is tight, so it's a really interesting balancing act because you're going to have to move up all these resources, but you're going to need the money. And you're also going to have to move up this brewmaster piece along the track as well. But yeah, it's a very kind of dry Euro game. That the Heaven and Ale theme, the like kind of monk theme, interested me. That's why I bought it. But it's basically an abstract game. But it's a really good abstract game in my opinion. So number 70 is Heaven and Ale. Let's go to number 69. Very nice. It is a small two-player game. This is Mandala. This is a two-player, but it's a very thinky sort of game. It's simple though, and you are going to place out these colored tiles on the mandala, and you're going to either place it in the middle of the mandala or on your side of the mandala. And once all six colors are on that particular mandala, you're going to take the tiles and draft them, and whoever's got the most tiles on their side gets to pick first which of these mandalas they're going to take into their own area and score them. And it's a game that, like I said, it's pretty simple. You can teach it in a matter of a couple minutes, but when you're playing it, and it also depends on who you're playing with, obviously, but it's kind of quiet when you're playing this game because you're thinking so hard of how you're going to outmaneuver the other person. But it's a really, really interesting game mechanically. So number 69 is Mandala. Going straight into number 68 is another pretty small game. This is Ohanami. This is a drafting game that is much kind of like the game, if you've ever played the game, where you're going to be putting out these numbered cards in ascending order on top of each other, and you have three little areas that you can put them in, three columns that you can place them in. But you're going to pick a couple cards and pass them, and you're going to keep doing that until you have no cards. And you're going to score 3 different rounds, and each round you're going to score different types of these cards. And this is kind of like a social game to me. Like I said, Mandala, we don't talk a lot. In this game, it's a very simple game, and it's not too thinky. So when we're playing it, we're talking about a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff it's not even pertaining to that particular game. But it's easy enough where we're just playing and passing around, and that's one of the things I like about it. And I did make like a top 10 Zen games of all time list. This game did make that list because I just feel it puts me in a good place when I'm playing it. It's a nice little game. It's not too thinky, and the cards look nice as well. So number 68 is Ohanami. Going to number 67. Number 67 is probably the newest game to me that made my top 100, because I played this about a month before I actually started making my top 100 list, and it made the list. This is a game that came out last year. This is Cascadia. Now, Cascadia is using this kind of packet drafting system where you're going to get options of drafting. You're going to get a pair of a tile and an animal that you can draft. So you're going to have to take the tile and the animal that's associated with that tile. And you're going to take that tile, place it into your system, and connect them. And you want to connect different regions. You want to make large regions of the same type, and you're going to score based on your largest region of those types. And you can only place certain animals on these terrains, and you want to place your animals in certain patterns depending on which animal it is, to score the most points. It's really interesting. It's thinky but simple, and that's kind of my style of game that I kind of gravitate towards. These are the types of games that are going to get to the table more often for me. These games that you can teach in a matter of a couple minutes, but when you're playing it, you are going to sit and have to think about everything you're doing, because everything matters. But yes, number 67, Cascadia. Going to number 66 is a dice drafting sort of game. This is Roll Player, part of the Roll Player series of games that I really enjoy. This was the main one that came out right away. And in this game, you're going to be drafting dice, and the dice are going to be different colors, and obviously they're going to have different numbers on them depending on which dice you're drafting. Sorry if you can hear my dog eating over in the next room. He's munching down on his midnight snack. But yes, Roll Player, you're drafting these dice, and you're putting them in certain areas. You want these dice to be in certain areas. You want certain colors to be in certain areas, and you want your rows to equal a certain amount, because you are making your D&D character, and your strength wants to be like a 16 or 17. Maybe your agility wants to be this. Your intelligence wants to be this. So you're drafting dice, trying to place them in the correct order to score the most amount of points. Yeah, the game I really like. I really like the theme. I think it's interesting that they made a game basically out of creating a D&D character. That's an interesting, unique theme to me. Let's go to number 65. Number 65 is a polyomino placing game set with a space theme. This is Cosmic Colony. So yes, you are going to in this game you are going to be picking a couple of these character cards to play, and what actions you get to play, it depends on those cards that you're playing. And it's all about gathering these resources and then spending these resources to buy these polyomino shapes to then place on your board. And you are trying to cover up certain spots, and you're trying to leave some of these spots open to score your different amount of points. I really think it's interesting how you're playing these character cards, and once you place those character cards, then they actually get sent to the next person. So these character cards keep getting rotated, and eventually, you'll get those character cards back. And so yeah, it's really interesting mechanically. It kind of reminds me of something like Mission Red Planet or Citadel, for that instance, for how you're drafting these or using these character cards. But in this one, you actually move those character cards along, and other people get to play them as well. So number 65 was Cosmic Colony. So on to number 64. Number 64 is a cheatsy doodle of a pick for me, because I'm actually picking two different games to combine for this one slot. And it's because one of the games is based mechanically on the other one. It's very similar. And this is Fantasy Realms and Red Rising. Fantasy Realms came out first, and then Red Rising from Stonemaier came out, and he blatantly said it's based on this other game, using the same mechanisms, but adding an IP to it. But in both of these games, you are going to have a hand of cards, and each of these cards are going to combo with other specific cards that you want in your hand. So in the games, you are going to try and eliminate some cards that are useless to you, useless to that hand. They're not going to score you points, and you're going to get other cards that you need with certain cards. Like if you have this card, it's worth 20 points, but if you have this other card with it, it bumps it up to 50 points. Stuff like that. And both of them use that mechanic. Fantasy Realms is a much smaller game, and I think it's a cleaner game. I think it's a better game. But Red Rising came out, and it's a more complex game. It adds a few things to it. It adds an actual like board. It's almost like it's a board game rather than the card game. And but why I like Red Rising so much as well is because it is based on a book series that I really like, the Red Rising series of books. So I really enjoy that part of it. Like I said, but Fantasy Realms is probably the better game. But I enjoy Red Rising a lot as well. But if I want to play a simpler game, I'll pick Red Rising. If I want to play a bigger game that I feel is more thematic to something I like the book series, then I'll pick Red Rising. So number 64 was the combination of Fantasy Realms and Red Rising. Going to number 63. Number 63 is an abstract game. This is War Chest. War Chest is this deck building game of sorts, but instead of building a deck of cards, you are building these poker chips, putting them into a bag. So it's a bag building game, and you're going to pull out these pieces out of this bag, and then you can place them onto your board. And each of these poker pieces is going to be sort of this faction with special abilities. And your goal is you are trying to put these pieces out onto the board, and you're trying to eliminate the other players' pieces, plus move around the board and like claim home bases. Basically, it's basically almost like this capture the flag sort of game. But it's definitely an abstract game. I really like the poker pieces. I think it looks nice, and it's a very strategic game. But there is quite a bit of an element of luck because you're going to be pulling out pieces from these bags. But you can build your bag how you think is going to best fit you. But it's a fun game. One that I haven't played as much as I should, but I really enjoy it. So number 63 was War Chest. Let's go to number 62 now. Number 62 is a pretty big, pretty heavy game. This is Terra Mystica. In Terra Mystica, you are going to be playing on this, what I think is a very ugly board. I think it's very Euro looking. I put it up with the classics of ugly looking games like Castles of Burgundy, basically. But mechanically, it's such a good game, in my opinion, that it overcomes that ugliness. But in this game, you are going to be terraforming certain regions, building certain buildings, and upgrading them, getting special abilities. But yes, I think if it had a better looking presence, I think this could have even gone quite a bit higher on my list. And people who see this are going to be like, Gaia Project, it's Terra Mystica redone with a space theme that I think looks a little bit better. I still don't think it looks amazing, but I think it looks a lot better than Terra Mystica does. And I've never played Gaia Project, so I'm hoping I get to play Gaia Project sometime in the near future. I'm not sure when that will be. I'm not sure I want to invest in a game that's just a retheme of a game that I already like. But yes, number 62 was Terra Mystica. Going from Terra Mystica to a very small game, actually, it's a very small card game. Number 61 is Cabo, I picked the second edition. Cabo is this very simple, small card game that uses memory. And I do not like memory games because I can't remember anything, ever. I have a hard time with memory games, but I adore this game. This is one of my favorite small card games. And basically, you're going to get 4 cards at the beginning of each round. And these are going to go face down. And these cards are numbered from 0 to 13. And you want low numbered cards in front of you. Low cards win. But you get to look at 2 of these cards, and then you put them again face down. Then you're going to be exchanging cards throughout the round. Some cards will let you look at other people's cards. Some cards will let you look at your cards. And some cards will let you trade cards with other people. And in the end, you want to have the lowest score. And each round, someone will call Cabo if they think they have the lowest score. Then you'll count up your points and everything like that. And once the player has reached 100 points throughout all the rounds, then they lose. But it's a really fun game. It's a game that I've taught a ton of people in the past, probably 3 years now. I I adore this game, and it's one that I highly recommend. If it's not in your collection, I think it belongs in most people's collection. So number 61 is Cabo. And that will wrap up this section of my top 100 games of all time, number 70 through 61. And make sure to comment below what you think of some of these games. Let me know what games fall in this region of games for you if you have made a top 100 games list ever. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you all have an amazing day. Take care, everyone.